Happy Monday, everybody, and welcome into the Graham Lincoln Mac Lane podcast presented by Ingles, the official supermarket of Graham Lincoln Mac Lane, the official supermarket of summer. Mac, we are fully in our summer guest series. We're very excited about this one. And you and I have known this guy for quite a while. I mean, 10 years at least, I would say. He took over as the athletic director at Clemson when you and I were both still playing. So we go way back with this guy.
That's right. That's right. Dan Radakovich, one of the best in the game. I was very sad and it hurt my heart when he left us, but he's down in Miami now. I understand. You got to do what you got to do. And he's doing great things down at the U. And it's been really fun just to, kind of see that and obviously still be involved with the conference and be able to see what he's building and bringing in, this new wave, if you will, he and Mario Cristobal, which we talk about a lot. But also, I loved how he spoke, KG, about how Miami is going to be set up for whatever happens, in this new world of college athletics and the changes and how they're kind of looking ahead and trying to, just always stay on top of it because he's been a lot of places and he's seen a lot of things and certainly knows how to handle it. So it's been fun. It was a great conversation. I know our fans are going to love this.
They are, for sure. And I appreciated his thoughts on some of the big issues because he has been in this business for a while. And he understands, I think, the power of Miami's brand. And he was buying into the hype. And, I feel like this summer, it's only June, guys. Like the hype train, you could argue, hasn't even really left the station. Okay. When it leaves the station, oh my goodness. I just feel like the hype is there. And what we've heard about Cam Ward and all these guys that Mario Cristobal has brought in. But Mac, you mentioned this with Dan, the opening game. At Florida, we now have the kickoff time for that 3:30 on ABC that Saturday night. So one of the biggest, if not the biggest game of opening weekend of the week zero kind of, no, that's opening weekend. That's regular opening weekend.
There, baby, we're here.
All eyes. Yeah. All eyes are going to be on that game. And I think similar to Florida State last year, I know LSU is a different caliber of opponent than Florida right now, but similar to that situation, you can really make a statement week one, Mac, if you're Miami.
Yeah, no, I don't think there's any question about it. And there's going to be a lot of pressure in that game too, right? Like just from either sideline, but also the players on the field and just how that's going to set you up, for the rest of the way. And they're going to have to, both teams need to take care of business. So you hope that, Miami, for our sake, does what they do and how excited we can get just about that, KG. And I love what you mentioned earlier about our friends over at Ingles, that they are the summer sponsor. That's what they do. They get us ready. If you guys were paying attention to my social media, you would have seen that Khaki Mac had a little girl dinner that we were hosting over at our house, and they let me throw down on the grill. We did ribeyes, we did chicken, we did all the things, and of course, Ingles hooked us up with that. So if you guys are grilling, if you're smoking, if you're hanging out, cooking out, you got to go to Ingles. You got to get all that stuff. So let's get a quick message from our friends over at Ingles, KG, and then this great conversation with Dan Radakovich.
It's time to discover the convenience and time savings of contact-free pickup with Ingles Curbside. Just visit shop.ingles-markets.com or download the app. And your Ingles personal shopper gets to work with specialized training on how to select the freshest items for a pre-scheduled pickup. They'll even text you with updates. You pull up to a designated space and your personal shopper delivers your items right to your vehicle. Fresh, fast, and affordable. It's all in the bag. Ingles. Low prices. Love the savings.
Dan Radakovich, welcome, brother. It's great to see you. Great to get you on the podcast. We were just hanging out a couple of weeks ago down in Amelia Island where the weather was not as good as it is in Miami. You had to close your shade for me behind you. Thank you for joining us. Great to see you.
Well, Eric, great to see you. Kelly, always great to see you. And two of my favorite Clemson graduates on this call right now.
Checks in the mail, brother. Checks in the mail. Yeah. We appreciate that. I do want to touch on Amelia Island a little bit because I think Kelly and I talk about it all the time and you hear people reference it, but the general public might not even know what we're saying or what happened. So from your perspective, it's the ACC spring meetings or summer meetings, whatever the meetings are. What is that like for you? I mean, you guys are talking all day long. What kind of stuff are you talking about? What gets done? And ultimately, does anything, come out of it? Does anything change from it?
Well, I've been very fortunate. That was meeting number 17 for me.
Wow.
Starting back in 2006 when I was the athletic director at Georgia Tech. And we missed, obviously, the COVID year. But a lot of those meetings have changed over time, mostly because intercollegiate athletics continues to change. They
Mhm.
had been a lot longer, and there was time for interaction in golf or tennis, or maybe even actually walking out to the beach. I mean, that was actually where I met
Wow.
Dabo Sweeney and Brad Brownell,
Hmm.
was at one of those early 2007, 2008 years, where I saw them. Well, probably a little later because Brad was there, so it was 2010 or 11. But they were actually walking to the beach because we had time to do that. Now we've condensed the meeting so much that it was 44 hours of meeting time. And of course, we brought in our new friends from the West Coast. It probably took them 44 hours just to get to Amelia Island. So it's a little bit more concise right now. But the idea of what we get done there, we get a lot of conference business done. The senior women administrators run through their information. Some years it's more heavy than others. If there's a year where we're talking about a potential television contract or change in the bowl structure, what places we go there's a lot more conversation. Or if there are major national issues, which is where we are today,
Mhm.
we had conversation to get really the viewpoints of other athletic directors in the league. What are you guys thinking at your particular school? How would you handle some of these changes if they actually do come down the pike?
Mm. Would we be shocked? Sorry, KG. Would we be shocked on the differences there? Because I think Graham actually said this a year ago. The ACC's greatest strength is its diversity and different
Mm.
thinking, but its greatest weakness is its diversity and different thinking. Is
Yeah.
that kind of true in those meetings too, in a bit?
Well, absolutely. Because not everyone looks at their athletic program the same.
Right.
Yeah.
And a lot of places, the athletic program, and thank you for wearing our shirt there, Eric.
Come on, baby.
Take the
Let's
brand
go.
forward. And that's really what it's about. The athletic brand at the University of Miami is a big part of the institution. We're one of the few places in the country where the institution adopted the athletic brand.
Hmm.
The U, actually, the split U that you have there actually started in 1973, I believe is the
Wow.
right year. And it was athletics all the way into the latter part of the 90s when it became part of the university
How about
logo as well. Now, having the success that Miami had in the 80s and the early 90s and into the 2000s really kind of said, hey, look, why are we going to waste time on another brand study when all we can utilize that and everybody knows who we are and where we are. So there's power there. And that doesn't exist at all of the other institutions. So you have that disparity.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just curious where Dabo and Brad were headed. Like, were they about to hit up a beach volleyball game or what was going on?
No, I think they were just actually looking, saying that's water, and there's no, and it just keeps going. It's not like a lake,
Yeah, right.
where it has
Kiwi's not
boundaries
on
to
top
it.
of it. Kiwi's not up
Yeah,
on the
well,
other side.
Kiwi looks bigger. Interesting.
Yeah, it's a
That
big
I'm
lake. Yes.
I'm just trying to envision Brad and Dabo crashing a beach volleyball game.
It's a
These were their
big
younger
lake.
days. These were their younger days. Okay, Dan, let's shift a bit to more Miami focus. And you know where I'm going to start, right? Katie Meyer retiring. I'm assuming maybe not. You had more of an idea. I was pretty surprised just because when I see Kate, first of all, love Katie Meyer. She seems so energetic and young to me, but a lot of that is just the way she carries herself. And of course, she accomplished so much at Miami. That Elite Eight run was still just unbelievable, remembering that. But you hired Trisha Cullop, who I'll tell you, I didn't even tell you this, Dan, off air. I was at the Final Four when you guys announced that, and I was sitting with Coach McGraw, and she saw the news and she goes, that is a great hire. Like, she loved the hire and has known Trisha for many years. So just talk to me about that process of Katie retiring, hiring Trisha, and what do you expect from her?
Well, let me just start with Katie. Shock might be a little bit of an understatement.
Okay.
When she walked in, I said, I thought, hey, what are we looking at here? Do we want, to expand, some different facilities or some different things for the assistant coaches? And she said, I'm really thinking about retiring. And I was like, okay, let's take 48 hours, think about this, and then come on back on Wednesday. And she did. And she goes, I'm still thinking about retiring, and I really want to do that. So we actually had that same thing happen a year ago with Gino DeMari, our baseball coach.
Yeah.
Gino walked in and he said, you know what? His dad had passed away a year ago. So yeah, there was some different dynamics with Gino's circumstance. But, Katie was, as you said, very enthusiastic, a lot of energy, but she just thought it was her time to walk away. And it's been tough for her, but I think she realizes for her, she's made the right decision. Now, good for the University of Miami. She's staying on as a special advisor to the athletic department, and we're going to be able to do some things with Katie. And she and I spent a little time talking about this, and we'll get into it more after the 1st of June. Is we have some really young coaches here in our department, and just given the way some Olympic sport coaching searches are, you're going to continue to have more of them. And she's going to be a mentor to them. We talk about always sending your assistant coaches and trying to have some feedback on a day-to-day basis, and we have some really good sport administrators that help do that. But it's always better coming from someone who's blown a whistle before.
Yeah.
And and we have 3 women, young women's coaches, so it'll be also helpful from that perspective, for our women's sports. So and she'll do some fundraising and things with the Alumni Association that we're really excited about as well. So Katie's going to be just fine, and it was great. But the process of trying to find her successor, given the success that she's had, was difficult. And when we had Rochelle Paul, our SWA, and Brian Baptiste, our deputy, really were the driving forces behind culling through all of the resumes. And we had an opportunity to sit and talk to Tricia. She was the confidence that she was able to speak with, just being able to say, I've won over 400 games. I've been a coach of the year multiple times. I've been at a place where I took the attendance from 1,000 to 4,000, during her time there, and just beloved in the city of Toledo. So yeah, we thought we had a good circumstance. And here's the other part. Tricia obviously had a lot of opportunities to leave Toledo over the years. But when she was able to come to a place like Miami that has had success, the cupboard wasn't totally bare.
Right.
She's been able to add on to it with a number of really good student athletes, and plus the Cavender twins decided they wanted to come back and play again.
That's right.
Which is going to be a lot of fun as well. They're 2 phenomenal young women, and just we're really excited to have both of them back. But she was, after we had the conversation, she was the one that everybody said, you know what, she's just going to be able to take what Katie's built and be able to move it forward. So really, really fortunate to have her here.
That's awesome, man. And it's always, it's just one of those things, right? When you're having to replace coaches, you worry about fit, you worry about relationships, you worry about all these things. And I think we're all really excited about that, especially with the pedigree, that she brings to, Miami and the things she'll continue to build on. There's also a lot of excitement about this football team. And
just a little.
It's something I'll be honest with you, Dan, and you get this, you understand it. There always is, right? There always is hype. There's always this level of expectation and things like that. And it's hurt me a little bit. It's burned me because I get so excited and then it doesn't quite equate to what I think. But there is a bit of a difference this year. There is a bit of a different vibe, even talking with some of these coaches. And I just want to kind of see it from your lens, from your perspective, kind of the state of Miami football right now and, what you're looking at for 2024.
Well, you have to go back to Mario's first year, where you have an alum coming in, and Mario was very successful at Oregon, and everybody thought that you just sprinkle pixie dust, on the players, and all of a sudden they're going to perform great. Well, it wasn't, and they weren't the right type of players and system for what Mario and his staff would like to do. So it took a little time, but the fundamentals of the people that we have in the positions right now of real influence, I think, are really good. Our offensive line, we have 3 of the 5 guys coming back and another one who played a lot. So for all intents and purposes, 4 of the 5, and the center came as a 2-year starter from a Big Ten school. Okay, so we feel really good there. Defensive line, a number of really positive folks coming in. The quarterback, the linebacker, the safety. You know that thing about going up the middle, being strong up the middle? I
That's right.
think that there's some real truth to that. And with Cam Ward, who came in from day one, is really a great leader, someone who everybody has universally really rallied around. And then, of course, we got a couple of other pieces in the transfer portal part 2 as well. But we do feel really good about it. And then when you watch spring practice, you were really able to see some of the differences. I mean, we had a freshman from Las Vegas, Lofton, tight end running back. He's a special player, and you can do a number of different things. So there's a lot of good young men on this team, and I think that Mario has really been able to change the culture. And I think we will see, how that's going to work and the fruits of the labor, moving forward. We start off, with just a massive rivalry game with the University of Florida, which is always, just an incredible environment. But Mac, to just speak about the expectations, when you're a collegiate program with the history that Miami's had, and it kind of grew up through the ESPN era. Miami started to be good as ESPN started to get bigger, and there was more focus and effort into college football. And you're the football program in a football crazy area of South Florida, in a metropolitan area. It doesn't take a whole lot to light the fire of expectation. Okay, so Miami's had to deal with it. Sometimes it's worked, sometimes it hasn't, but we're really excited about moving forward with the 24 season. I think there's some really good building blocks.
No doubt. I think the entire college football world is excited. We've had multiple writers on. We're going to release more episodes with those guys. And every one of them, we're talking Miami and we're talking Cam Ward. And Dan, you've been around great football. I mean, you've seen it. And people forget some of those Georgia Tech days when you were there. Really good football. Clemson, of course, we've seen what they did. And we also saw with Clemson, like you can take all the factors, but what really happened was you got generational quarterback play, and that changed a lot with Deshaun Watson, Trevor Lawrence, and others. When you've seen those great guys and now you've seen Cam Ward, it's just spring ball. I get it, but we also have seen him at the college level at Washington State. Do you feel like he can be a transformational kind of player for Miami?
Oh, I do. I also had the chance this weekend to meet Cam's first high school coach at a summit that I was at this weekend, and you couldn't have. He just talked glowingly about Cam and how he attacks the game and how he attacks the intricacies of the game. He puts the ball where it needs to be. He tries not to put it into harm's way. I think that the cast around him that Miami's going to have and how we play might not be we may not have to ask him to throw the ball 60 times. Okay. Right. Which is a really great thing for any quarterback. Okay. Our tight end play is going to be good. We have some outstanding receivers. So I really think that it's going to be a positive thing for him, and he can become that spokesman, because that's the other thing that both, Taj, first of all, Taj Boyd.
Shout out Taj.
And then Deshaun, and then Trevor, and Kelly, even to a degree. But, they were all spokespeople, and the ability to get the thing done correctly and make it work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I tell you what, man, it's just the talent alone, but everything that we've heard about off the field and how he is, as you said, as a leader and just as a man coming in that program, I think it was very evident very early, the moment he stepped on campus. And that's what gets you excited, because you figure the on-field stuff will take care of itself. It's how can you buy into that locker room? How can you buy that community quickly and get everybody on your side? And I think he has that. The other difference kind of that I was alluding to of what might be a little bit different than normal here is that offensive line. And you've talked about it time and time again. Those guys are going to be legit. They're going to be really good. A lot of talent coming back, but also some 5 stars that have been waiting that are now going to be the guy and get their shot. So I can't wait. It's going to be really fun. I know another guy that can't wait is Coach Cristobal, and we've talked about him a little bit here, but he's as passionate as it gets. Former player, former national champion, lives, breathes, eats Miami. I mean, that's just when you think of that, they're right beside each other. How have you seen him change, whether that's culture or position or whatever it is? Because he was already an established head coach, but and how has he changed Miami? These last couple of years that he's been there.
One step at a time. And I think that's really
he says that all
important.
the time too, by the way.
Well, and it's truly there. I mean, the first year was really difficult for him because he had all the expectations and there was so much being placed on him, the great coach coming home, and then having to flip over some assistant coaches and bring some other people in and continue the high level recruiting and continuing on a day-to-day basis, player by player, changing the internal culture of the program. So I tell you what, I've been in the business 30 years. I've been around some really intense football coaches, but I will tell you that I have never seen anyone work as hard as Mario, just from a day-to-day piece and being involved in the right things within the program. Okay, so he's in a pretty good place. I don't know if you had a chance to talk to him in Amelia Island, but he's really excited. He's genuinely excited about where the program is now and where it could be going.
Yeah, and just to touch on the hardworking thing, because everybody works hard. I get it. I really do. And every coach, whatever, but he is obsessed with this thing. And it's like, it is, Miami to him is not anything. It is everything. And that I think is important. And you talk about that first year being hard. I think it physically hurt him, when it wasn't what he expected from himself. And so now as you get closer to that, love every interaction I have with him because again, he's a grinder, just what he does.
But you're also offensive lineman.
So. Well, I didn't want to tell anybody
You're
that.
Biased, sure. Matt. You're biased.
That's right, KG.
I've never seen a group of people that just gravitate toward each other. It's like if you're a fellow offensive lineman with someone,
it's just nature. You actually do feel a pull to each other. You're like, whoa, where's that guy?
Yeah, it's pull. Get it? Yeah, you guys do that. Max taught me some things. Dan, let's go big picture here because, like we've said, you've worked at Georgia Tech, Clemson, Miami, and other places as well. Those are the places you've been athletic director. What makes Miami unique for your job? Like in your position and just Miami's position in college athletics, you mentioned the U, the logo. Everyone knows that logo. What are some of the unique, maybe positives? And if you want it, you could tell us negatives, but we could stick with positives that you've seen being the AD at Miami.
Well, I will tell you, it's a smaller athletic program because it's a private school.
Right.
So, I mean, this is, that's kind of unique as well. Okay. And, we can give a lot more, from a player development, from a, student athlete development piece. You can give a little bit more to your students because you have a smaller roster all the way around. I think that the institution looks at athletics as being one of the pillars of the university. You have the academic piece, the undergraduate and graduate studies. You have our medical school, which is a teaching hospital and the largest in South Florida and really a big part of the healthcare system here in this major area of the state. And then you have athletics. I think what a lot of people are looking at now is athletics is going to cost more, okay, because of things that may be happening, within, our NCAA and conference world right now. Some people aren't going to want to do that. They're not going to want to pay that, those additional dollars. Universities for a long time had been the benefactor of this marketing arm for little or no money, okay? And now they're going to have to make a choice and especially with the declining number of high school students that are coming out and being able to fill that pipeline,
right?
How are they going to choose to spend their dollars? And is athletics going to be one of those? So one of the great things about the University of Miami is that they saw that a couple of years ago. They made the investment. They continue to make that, and I think we're going to be positioned really, really well as the future unfolds.
Wow, that's great. And great insight, from you and those changes, because they literally are happening every day. And I
Right.
think what's interesting, even further, Dan, I remember a handful of years ago when I, had just gotten to Clemson, and this arms race of facilities had begun, and everybody's building and everybody's going out there, and you guys were doing that and studying all these different things, come together to make the best one. And then someone else would make the best one a year later. And so I know you guys have that coming, a really great one at Miami, but in the way the world is moving and the way the world is changing, do you anticipate that slowing down from a nationwide standpoint? Because, we may have to start paying these players, and we may have to start funding things differently, kind of along the same lines you just said there.
I think there'll be a little bit of an ebb and flow. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
there are things, even here at Miami, the large building that we're looking at, we always were going to have a second option associated with that of expanding the indoor facility and creating a new weight room. Well, just given how we can pull that together, we're going to do that first before the building starts. Okay. And now the building's still very important, especially with all the other things that go along with it. But, make no mistake, the schools that took advantage of the 2012 to 2020 interest rate environment, investment environment, all the
Great
rest
point.
of those things, were very, I mean, it was very fortunate. And, so they've got that one done. Now it's incumbent on them to make sure that those facilities stay current, okay, with what's going on. But at least you're starting with, again, a really good foundation. As other schools are looking at it and saying, we have to make a big investment. There are schools right now. I know Wisconsin is doing a big deal. Florida State's doing a big deal with their stadium and their football area. So it's
Mm-hmm.
not stopping. But it may be moving. Virginia and Tony Elliott, they're doing some things up there as well. So it's not going to stop. It may be not as broad based as what it was at one point in time.
All right, Dan, my hope is that you've never received this question before that I'm about to ask you. You are a guy who has built great facilities at the places that you've been. Of course, as Mac mentioned, Miami getting that real football-centric facility that you guys are working on. We know the Clemson one. And maybe the answer is already, maybe we know it's the slide. But is there an aspect of a facility that you've built that you feel is your favorite? And then is there an aspect of an upcoming Miami facility that you think is just going to blow people away?
Well, I'll answer the second part first.
Okay.
As we continue to move forward with the new Miami building, we're going to have escalators going from one level to another because elevators take up too much room, and if you can see the rest of the building as you kind of move through the escalator. So I think that's going to be
awesome.
kind of a cool part of that.
What's the weight rate on that? Can the entire offensive line ride together, or what's the?
Well, if you've seen some of the people in airports riding on escalators, we're going to be
very similar.
Airport compliant. Okay,
Good to know.
That didn't come out right.
I love it.
But you guys got my idea.
We got you.
I think as it relates to the slide, the slide was Dabo's favorite part of the building. Okay, one of my favorite parts of the building was how we were able to connect the weight room to the indoor facility to make it efficient for the players to go from their locker room through the weight room into the indoor and then to the outdoor. I mean, the efficiency of how all of that worked was fantastic. And, I've got to give a big shout out to Thad Turnipseed, who was also a big part of that, to be able to make sure that, everything was being, that was something that was always front and center. That was a big part of it.
Yeah.
I think that's kind of the neatest part of that whole building.
Yeah.
No, I get it. And I totally agree with just the ease of access and things not segment. It doesn't feel like you're going through a maze. It feels like you're very purposeful and
Real
how you
open
guys
floor
designed
plan,
it.
real good
Yeah,
concept
yeah.
there. Yeah.
You appreciate that. You appreciate that. Dan, this was so much fun, brother. We appreciate you joining us. A lot of great topics here, and it's a ever-changing landscape in this new thing, man. So glad you're still leading the ship with a lot of different things, and just really grateful for your time.
Well, listen, as I started by saying, you're two of my favorite Clemson graduates, and that will stand for a long time. Tell all my friends back there hello. Maybe I'll have some time this summer to get on a little pontoon boat and hit
That's right.
Lake Hartwell.
That's
That
right.
might be a lot of fun as well. But listen, just anything you guys need along the way, we'll help any way we can.
Thanks again to Dan Radakovich for joining us. That makes what, Mac? 4 ACC athletic directors that we've had on now. Total. Not just this summer, but
That's right.
overall.
That's right.
And we're open to more. So if there's another AD
Whoever
wants to come on, wants to come hang, we're available. We're ready. But we appreciate Dan Radakovich and his time. And Mac, your background on this episode, if people who are watching on YouTube, you look like
in Miami. I'm actually in Dan's backyard right now.
Oh, really? Some investigative journalism. We had to go to the source, go to his house.
Had to find out. No, you're right. It is beautiful. This is actually Charleston, South Carolina. That's how we do it.
Yeah, baby.
That's how we hang out. But you're right, KG. The excitement level that we were talking about previously with this team, it's coming. It's going to be full steam ahead. And Dan got me even more excited. It's so funny, guys. I have tried to push down Miami and just say, go sit over there. I'll worry about you when you take care of business. And here it is, the shiny, beautiful toy right in my face. I just, I got to do it. I got to do it. So I'm on the hype train. I think Miami's going to be really good. We'll talk about that a lot more in our kind of coaches previews here in about a month or so.
Yep.
Can't wait for that. Really grateful for Dan's time. Very grateful for our friends over at Ingles. We're also grateful for you, America. Thank you for tuning in. We need your help. We need you to go over to YouTube, subscribe, leave some comments. Tell us what you think about the Canes and what they're going to do moving forward this year. And, of course, the OGs over on Apple Podcasts as well. Rate, review, subscribe. We would greatly appreciate that. But until next time, we'll see y'all.